Tonight, labor unrest over poor pay and demands for general improved working conditions. With the Ghana Medical Association, the latest to serve notice of a complete withdrawal of services unless their concerns are addressed by the 30th of September.
We have some signed conditions of service with the employer. Unfortunately, aspects of it are not being implemented, and the National Executive Council has given out this directive, and that is what we are going to go by.
We tell you why the minority leader and former Labour Minister is predicting more strikes ahead.
To save 4%, Mr. Speaker, is a recipe for industrial conflict. It's a recipe for industrial strike. No surprise, the University Teachers Association of Ghana have already embarked on an industrial action. Many may follow.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Gassim Cement. The nation builder is also brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. Tonight, there are predictions of impending crisis on the labor front. On the day the Ghana Medical Association served notice, it will completely withdraw all services unless government addresses their concerns before the 30th of September. The Medical Association is the latest union to announce a strike. As we speak, the University Teachers Association of Ghana UTAG is locked in a crucial meeting with the Labour Minister as officials attempt to get the university teachers back into the classrooms. They have been on strike, leaving students stranded since Monday. Now, the teachers are demanding an entry-level salary of $2,084. Last week, aggrieved public sector workers rejected the agreed 4% increase in a minimum wage. But the latest announcement by the Ghana Medical Association has caused the most stir, with the country still reeling from the effects of a COVID-19 third wave. Now, Dr. Justice Yangsing is the General Secretary of the GMA.
You can understand all the hard work we put in. We have some signed conditions of service with the employer. Unfortunately, aspects of it are not being implemented, and we continue to offer our services, or we continue to discharge our part of the bargain. We've been at this with government for so long. Some steps have been taken, but ultimately, those steps are not good enough. And the National Executive Council, having consulted the ranks and file of the members at the various divisions, has given out this directive, and that is what we are going to go by.
Well, former Labour Minister and Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu has today been predicting more strikes ahead.
The workers of Ghana, the public sector workers of Ghana, can have no smiles into 2022. When you have inflation at 8 or 9%, the appropriate thing to do in terms of a meaningful wage negotiation is to peg the wage increases not above inflation. So if you say inflation is 9 or 8%, then increase your wages by just 8 or 9%. That is the best practice, and that has been the practice. To save 4%, Mr. Speaker, is a recipe for industrial conflict. It's a recipe for industrial strikes. No surprise, the University Teachers Association of Ghana have already embarked on an industrial action, asking for improvement in their conditions of service. Many may follow. It may be teachers, it may be nurses, and I think that, Mr. Speaker, while this is the first time and they want to say we should commend them, it is not realistic. And going into the future, we should be ready to bear the consequences of an unstable labor environment, which is likely to be characterized by protest and strike action, which ultimately will affect productivity of our country.
I want to bring in the Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Mr. Titus Bayo. Dr. Titus Bayo, thank you, Doc, for your time here on Top Story. So what informed this 30th September ultimatum?
Good evening, Evans, and good evening to our cherished listeners. As you heard in the clip from our General Secretary. This came from our National Executive Council. We held our council meeting last Friday, and the divisions, we have divisions that represent the various regions in the country, had earlier on met, and these resolutions came from the divisions and was brought to the National Council, and the council had to go by it. But what it is that we have assigned conditions of service, which was signed on the 15th of November 2019. And to date, some aspects of these conditions of service have not been fully implemented.
Which aspects are
we are engaging government these aspects, but our membership generally thinks that what has happened previously should not be allowed to happen, where we have documents that live their entire lifespan without components of them being implemented. An example is our healthcare. It is, for instance, stipulated within that document that our healthcare will be taken care of by the employer. As we speak, doctors, when they fall ill and their dependents fall ill in the hospitals in which they work, a lot of the time still have to foot their own bill. We have not seen any clear policy that tells how, if a doctor, it's even worse if a doctor goes to a facility for care. Some facilities are putting in some individual measures to foot a bit of the bill. But when the doctor is transferred to a new facility, then that one, there's completely nothing for that person. But in some facilities, there's absolutely nothing in place for the doctors. So we have been engaging. We informed, they had actually wanted a more stricter timeline, but we informed them of the level of engagement we have had with government, but we are running out of patience. And therefore, it is our hope that government will hasten up its steps and then fulfill these documents.
I also read concerns over arrears. Are you owed arrears?
Yes, we are owed arrears.
And this is in relation to what exactly? Salary or allowances? What is it?
Well, it's in relation to some aspect of our salary. A component we call non-basic allowance. It is something that we've been discussing with government, and we are hoping that they can quickly sort it out because our members are not happy about that.
And from what I read, you plan to suspend outpatient services from Friday, the 1st of October, which is 2 months away.
Yes.
I mean,
and then
go on.
Yes, like I mentioned, this was upon bringing to the understanding of our members that we have been engaging government for several days already to have come to this level. That is what allowed us notice. As you know, per the labor law, we are essential service providers. And if we have concern, there is a duration within which our concern should be addressed. And these 2 months is way beyond that duration. And so having served this notice, if there are powers that be feel too much about it, and then this time reaches, then it's an automatic rollout of the rule, and then no one should come quoting any labor law before us.
Is this notice served formally in letters to Labour Commission, to government, etc.?
Yes. I don't know if they have received it. Like I mentioned, usually after a letter to all the authorities concerned, but I don't know if everybody has received their copies yet.
Are you aware of any moves since this was resolved for government or NLC to meet you?
Nothing from NLC, but for government, we have been meeting before even this came out. We had wished that we would even continue with the meetings, but it looks like the meetings are going ad infinitum without really coming to a conclusion. And our members are really getting worried. Our entire conditions of service have a lifespan of 3 years. And so if we start something in 2019 and all of 2020 has elapsed, 2021 is going and we are giving a deadline to as late as ending of September, that is more than half of the lifespan of the conditions of service document. And we feel that we need to implement this document fully.
Are the doctors exploiting the current COVID situation in the full grips of a third wave to get what you want?
Not at all. Not at all. Far from it. And in fact, the COVID explains why we've had to engage and keep engaging and tone down our members from last year. This thing has been since last year, because after we have negotiated and passed the conditions of service document, all the implementation. But like I mentioned, some aspects are not being implemented. We prompted government about it, but in the height of COVID, we admonish all our members to keep on giving of their best while continue to engage. It is because the engagement appears not to be yielding the desired results that it has have to come to this level. To be honest, some of these motions were passed at some of the divisions even much earlier, and we needed to plead with them to give council some breathing space to negotiate further. But at this point, it was a majority decision, an overwhelming decision that we couldn't do much about, but to have to go by it. And the roadmap is as roll about. So definitely not COVID third wave. In the height of crisis, we keep to our pledge to fight this pandemic for humanity. We have promised so in the past that we'll do it even at the peril of our lives. And I think all Ghanaians can attest to the fact that in the previous waves, no doctor wavered in our commitment to serve our nation. We are still committed to it even as of now, and we have given 2 clear months. And it is just fair that the employer also looks at their part of the bargain and show equal commitment so that we can continue to give up our best. Even, as I mentioned, it is very painful as a government worker to be employed in a facility, see other government workers come in, you take care of them and their bills are fully paid for. And you, the doctor offering that service, if you need it, your bills cannot be paid for. Doctors have had to rely on their spouses if they work for other agencies to benefit from free health care or some form of insurance from those agencies. Why? This is a service that we offer. I mean, and this is just one of them. So I think that it is just fair that the ministry takes these things very, very seriously and address them, and don't force us to get to this roadmap in the middle of a crisis. That is not our intention at all.
I'm just curious. I mean, you've said you've been engaging government for a while since you signed that conditional service. I think you said in 2019, correct?
Yes.
What reasons has government given you for its failure to implement?
It's difficult to understand. I mean, at the time of negotiations, people know what it takes and what it requires before they agreed on it. At various levels, people would go, government negotiator will go and seek appropriate mandate and come back. So when you have come to a consensus document, it is the expectation that it should be smooth implementation. Some of it may require a bit of technical work. For instance, government needs to take a decision how they are going to make this healthcare work. Are they going to give us some cards that we are going to use? Are they going to give us some documents that stipulate a referral policy and how we can benefit from it, and all these things that other corporate organizations do for their employees? So we thought that maybe they needed time to go through these nitty-gritty. But it's been long overdue, you know, and this is not the first time. We had a conditions of service that almost expired without being fully implemented. And if you remember, that was the reason for our last industrial action that had to happen. And it looks like time over time, things are not being resolved. And this time around, we hope that something gets done.
Thank you very much, Titus Bayo. Titus Sisti is the Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, laying out the roadmap. And just to specify, the roadmap begins on the 1st of October with the suspension of outpatient services. This is Friday, 1st of October 2021. And then that will follow, still if nothing is done about their concerns, with the withdrawal of all inpatient services, which will begin the following week, that is effective Friday, 18th October 2021, if all the issues are still not completely resolved. And then the final phase is the third week, beginning 15th October. Beginning 15th October 2021, we'll see a complete withdrawal of all services. Now, that is the roadmap that had been laid out by GMA as far as this issue related to outstanding conditions of service and related arrears that they've specified. Now, the Ghana Medical Association is not the only a labor group that is agitating over improved working conditions or salaries. We have the University Teachers Association of Ghana. They are already on strike across the country, withdrawing their services, leaving students stranded, and they are asking for $2,084 salary for entry-level employees at the universities across the country. That has become a key bone of contention. They are, as we speak, in a meeting with the Labour Minister as government attempts to resolve this so they can return to the classrooms as exams approach. My colleague, Kweku Asante, has been monitoring that meeting that is still ongoing as we speak right now. We've been in touch with some of the players in that meeting. What are they telling us?
Right, so the meeting has been going on for this whole afternoon right into this evening. So far, not any concrete decision has been taken. The reason the meeting has been dragging on for over 4 hours now, we know that the NLC had actually directed them before this meeting with the Employment Ministry to actually go back to their classrooms and work whilst meeting them on 5th of this month. And so clearly, UTAC has disregarded that directive for now, but we know that they've been in a meeting for almost 4 hours now with the Employment Ministry trying to be able to decide on this issue. They say that they need $2,000, the CD equivalent of $2,000 for entry-level lecturers every month. Let's say currently what they earn is a little over $950, and they want government to honor the commitment that they all agreed in 2012 when the single spine salary structure came into force. And so they are not backing down now, and we know what this has currently done to the various public universities and the academic calendar, completely taking them off year, Evans.
Well, government has indicated a commitment to resolve this matter today in this particular meeting. Listen to Bright Rekrubebe, who is the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations.
Still calling on UTAG and the Senior Staff Association to reason with us at this point and then go back to the lecture hall. These things are called negotiations. So a party comes, and if they are otherwise not entrenched, we must be able to get to a truce and bring everything to a close. Unfortunately, these matters are not resolved by only one party. In the case of the Senior Staff Association, their first request was for government to pay them their Tier 2 fund, which we did. Through the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations, we were able to get Ministry of Finance to honor that payment. So that has since been paid. Then the issue of interest comes. The matter of interest is not just the clerk of the bank. This involves data work. And so Controller and Accountant General, who is supposed to do that work, has been instructed to do so. The matter for UTAC, they have brought it to our attention that their salary have devalued since 2012, and they want a restoration. Aisha, that's a bigger conversation. Graciously, the Finance Minister has agreed. My minister, the Education Minister, the Finance, all of us are meeting them tomorrow. I'm sure by the end of tomorrow, we should have a better roadmap that will appeal to our UTAC members for them to go back to the lecture hall.
So that is reference to the meeting that is currently ongoing. And so the minister's expectation is that this meeting should resolve the issue so they return to the classrooms. I want to bring in Labour analyst, Mr. Austin Game. Thank you, Mr. Game, for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Evans.
We just had the Ghana Medical Association, and you know, when Ghana Medical Association coughs, we all catch the cold, especially in the midst of COVID. They've given a 2-month notice with a clear roadmap to a complete withdrawal of service. What should the response be?
Thank you, Evans. Well, my first point of view on this issue is that our labor law is not the traditional legalistic document. It is a social legislation to help strengthen the arms of both
labor and the employer to resolve their differences should it be allowed to fester. In this case, we have this on our hand. To some extent, they've given quite a time, which is fair. 2 months is quite a distance. I expect both the employer and the union to take steps to have a meeting. That is the essence of proactivity, especially so when they both know that they are essential service providers. So, especially the employer, once again, should understand this point of view now and take steps. They shouldn't expect Labour Commission to be the one inviting them. This is the time they themselves should do something about it and only inform the National Labour Commission if they are unable to resolve their differences. I say they've done well because they have only 72 hours. Essential service providers, under the law, they have 72 hours to resolve their differences. That's why they must have sound labor management relationship, which it appears they do not have in place. So it's up to them to work it out. If they have difficulties, they know how to do.
And I always wonder, and we are seeing it in this case with the GMA too. They say this condition of service document was signed in 2019. We are in 2021, and they say it still has not been implemented, although government have signed it. You always wonder why almost it appears all the governments really, even before now, appear to walk themselves into a crisis before the issue is resolved, when they had so long to fix it before the crisis beckons.
I concede that it has always been a challenge, but now we have a very clear-cut labor legislation that is supposed to guide all parties. As at the time of some of these things, it's been very rough. At the time I was in office, for instance, but from 2004, any employer with sufficient knowledge and an appreciation of what the content of our Labor Act is concerned, they do not have to be having this kind of problem they are having. I'm only praying that they should not wait for the others to join. I work for some of them in the health sector. I know the pressure. We've been trying to manage it, but for how long? So I think that it's important that they take steps now. Those things that they are unable to implement, which they voluntarily agreed, because they have seen the best, they know as a long term they should be able to meet these requirements. And if they are not able to meet it, then they should call the partners to a meeting and inform the partners that, look, we have a problem of implementing this part of the agreement. Can we take a second look at it? That is the way to go. If you don't invite them to a meeting and they have to encounter you this way, the challenge is very rough.
Doesn't it also boil down to government's ability to pay? I mean, UTAC is on strike. They're asking for $2,000 entry-level salary. They are in a meeting currently with the Labour Minister, so there's a hope that this will be resolved. GMA has just entered the fray, also demanding arrears and improved service working conditions. We have the aggrieved public sector workers who last week say, listen, 4% minimum wage increase, we don't want it, we have to increase it. Something has to give, right?
Indeed, let me tell you this. All employers, both private and public, they all have genuine, honest problems. And how do they do it? They engage their people. I work for a number of organizations. It takes us 1 day to complete a collective agreement, to complete salary negotiation, and sign all the necessary relevant things. It takes 1 day to do so. Not because the employer has the money, but we do things ahead of the negotiation and do informal consultations. Our labor law is very clear, Section 1012, enjoins these parties to have a clear-cut rules and procedures that will govern the relationship that they have. Now, if you don't go by the rules, and if you have difficulties, just like marriage, you have to go to your partner and explain what you have told him that you will do or you will not do, And if you have genuine difficulties, let them know. If you don't let them know, you are not open. And again, this thing I'm saying, I'm not just saying it from my lips. They are in the Labour Act. Clearly, the way I'm saying it, Section 9, subsection G says that you, the employer, it is your duty to have open channels, plural, of communication with your own workers. So if you have a problem, genuine as it may be, go to them. You have equal powers. And may I say this also? They have the standing negotiating committee meeting that they go. It is not for one side to decide, I will do this or I will not do this. It's not so. That's why the rules are very clear. If they are not doing it that way, they will always have this problem. I hope my people will not put pressure on me that they want to do the same thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osingame, for this. We're going to keep a close eye on this meeting that is underway with the UTAG, and we'll update you once there is some conclusion.
Let me explain in here. I'm a mistake where I use cement for all your projects. That's why Gassem, with 50 years experience, want to develop various greater, what are your various jobs? What was super rapid 32.5 hours? On know you're suitable for your dream house. As your screening or Daduchi, Nazi or plastering, or man a perfect finish. Gassem, what was super strong 42.5 hours? Or your best suited for slab, pavement blocks, Nazi blocks, Nankasa, pumping.